Amara's heart pounded with anticipation as she pulled into the driveway of her newly purchased dream home. She was returning from a weekend work retreat, 3 days of workshops, networking, and trying to impress the firm's bigwigs. Exhausted yet satisfied, she smiled at the sight of her modest, mid-century modern bungalow. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the lawn. This home represented countless hours of overtime, tears, and unwavering dedication to her architectural career. As she pulled out her keys, she couldn't shake a nagging feeling that something was off. The exterior lights were turned on, which was strange because she always switched them off before leaving. She shrugged, deciding it might have been a lapse in memory. After all, she had been rushing to catch her flight out of town. Her first attempt to unlock the front door failed. Confused, she tried the key again, jiggling it slightly. It refused to budge. A cold knot of unease settled in her stomach. "This can't be right," she murmured under her breath. For a third time, she inserted the key. The lock did not respond, as if it was a complete stranger to her. Setting her luggage aside, she tried to stay calm. Maybe there was some simple explanation, like a faulty lock. She had read about older homes having quirks in their door hardware. Taking a deep breath, she examined the lock's faceplate. It was brand new, with no visible scratches or wear. Someone had replaced her deadbolt without her knowledge. She glanced at the living room window. The blinds were down, and she could see a faint glow from within. A mixture of fear and anger seized her. Slowly, she walked around to the side of the house. The side gate was locked as well, another lock that was not hers. The sense of intrusion was overwhelming. This was not just a prank, it was a violation. Amara fished out her phone. She thought about calling the police but hesitated. Who would change my locks? She asked no one in particular. Then, a chilling realization struck her. Her older sister, Yvette, had been staying at the house. What if Yvette had done something impulsive? Their arrangement was supposed to be temporary. Yvette had lost her apartment under murky circumstances, and Amara, always the helper, had invited her to stay until she got back on her feet. But over the past few weeks, Yvette's attitude had shifted. The sisterly bond they once shared had been overshadowed by condescending remarks and tension. Amara tried to brush it off as stress or sibling rivalry, but deep down, she suspected something more sinister. She stepped back to the front porch, fists clenched. The door remained locked, mocking her. Clutching her phone, Amara whispered, "Yvette, you better have a good explanation for this." Little did she know that this lockout was just the opening act of the most tumultuous chapter of her life. Before she could dial Yvette's number, the doorbell chimed from the inside. It startled her. Why would someone ring it from inside the house? She realized it was the doorbell camera she'd installed a month ago. She had set up a two-way intercom feature to communicate remotely if needed. She dug through her phone's home security app, activating the camera feed. The screen lit up, revealing Yvette standing in the foyer. She had one hand on her hip and a smug grin plastered across her face. "You look surprised, little sister," Yvette's voice crackled through the phone's speaker. Amara's eyes narrowed. "Open this door immediately," she said, trying to keep her voice steady despite her roiling emotions. The app's two-way function allowed her to speak directly to her sister. Yvette shrugged on the camera. "I'm afraid I can't do that. You don't live here anymore." Amara's pulse quickened. The calm, self-assuredness in Yvette's voice was jarring. "What are you talking about? This is my house. I have the deed. I have the mortgage in my name. Don't play games with me." Yvette shook her head. "You might want to check with Mom. There was a change in plans. She signed a letter. Something about how you're giving this place to me so the family isn't split apart." Amara's breath caught in her throat. "You know that's ridiculous. I bought this house with my own money, and I never discussed any of this with Mom." Yvette flashed a condescending smile. "Well, that's what the letter says, and Mom's signature is on it. I have it right here. She waved a piece of paper tauntingly at the camera, though Amara couldn't read its contents. You're insane, Amara snapped. That letter means nothing, if it's even real. Call it insane if you want, but I've already moved in fully. So, it's best you move on. Amara pressed her forehead against the door, fists trembling. She refused to let Yvette see her tears. She ended the camera feed and tried the doorknob again in vain. Her sister's smug laughter echoed faintly through the door. Rather than waste time screaming, Amara inhaled a shaky breath. She was done playing along with Yvette's antics. Dialing her lawyer, she steeled herself. She knew one truth above all else: no matter what note Yvette dangled in front of that camera, the law was on Amara's side. In her car, parked at the curb, Amara took a moment to regroup. She called a locksmith friend but hesitated. This situation felt more complicated than a simple rekey job. Yvette's audacity implied a bigger plan. Her mind wandered back to subtle red flags that she had dismissed over the past few weeks. The snide remarks, Yvette, sipping coffee in Amara's kitchen, once muttered, "It must be nice to have everything handed to you." Amara had bristled. Nothing was handed to her. She had worked tirelessly for her career and saved meticulously for this house. The passive-aggressive jokes, Yvette would brag about our new home, telling friends she was an equal contributor. Whenever Amara tried to correct her, Yvette would laugh it off and say, "I'm just joking, relax." The mysterious envelopes. A few days before Amara left, she saw Yvette opening letters addressed to her. When confronted, Yvette insisted it was an accident. Thinking back, these small incidents felt like bricks in a wall, barriers Yvette had been quietly constructing around the house and around Amara's sense of security. Now, it stood tall, and Amara was indeed on the outside looking in. She called her mother. After 2 rings, the call went to voicemail. Slightly relieved because she wasn't ready to delve into that conversation, she left a brief message, "Mom, something weird is going on with Yvette. She changed my locks and is claiming I gave her the house. Call me back." She sighed, resting her phone on the dashboard. A swirl of anger, betrayal, and confusion knotted her stomach. Memories of their childhood played in her mind like a montage, Yvette teaching her to ride a bike, braiding her hair before school dances, standing up for her against bullies. When had their bond soured to this point? Amara swallowed the lump in her throat. "Enough," she whispered, gripping the steering wheel. She refused to let nostalgia cloud her judgment. Whatever warmth they'd shared was gone, replaced by Yvette's venomous envy. Scrolling through her contacts, she tapped on her lawyer's number. Determination steadied her voice. "Hi, Danielle? I need a consultation ASAP. Someone changed the locks on my house and is trying to claim it." "Yes, I'll be there first thing tomorrow morning." Ending the call, she felt a subtle sense of relief. If Yvette wanted a fight, she would get one, but in a court of law, not on a doorstep. Amara had spent too long building her dreams to let them be usurped by a flimsy piece of paper and a jealous sibling. Before driving off, Amara opened her phone's security app again. She noticed multiple notifications of movement over the weekend. Yvette had been prowling around, rummaging through drawers, peeking at documents. The cameras were still operational. Yvette apparently hadn't discovered them yet. "You messed with the wrong sister," Amara said, hitting record on the live feed to capture Yvette's smug posture in the living room. It was time to document every shady move. Early the next morning, Amara sat in the plush leather chair of her lawyer's office. Large windows behind Danielle cast slanted sunlight across the desk, illuminating framed certificates and photos of successful case outcomes. Danielle, a sharp-eyed attorney specializing in property law, flipped through the documents Amara had brought. "So, you have the official deed, mortgage statements, everything in your name," Danielle summarized, tapping a manicured finger on the topmost document. Amara nodded. "Everything is in order. My sister's note is fraudulent. There's no way it's a legitimate document. She claims it's from our mother, but even if Mom wrote something, it doesn't override my official ownership." Danielle scribbled a few notes. And you mentioned your mother's signature might have been forged? Amara folded her hands together. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to Mom yet. She's been ignoring my calls, which is odd. But either way, we both know a letter isn't enough to transfer property. Exactly. Danielle leaned back, crossing her arms. Yvette has no legal claim, but she's essentially squatting. You have every right to involve law enforcement to evict her. Amara frowned, brushing a stray lock of hair behind her ear. I want to do this by the book. I don't need a dramatic scene on my front lawn. Danielle nodded. Understood. The best course of action is to file a petition. We'll serve her a notice, and if she doesn't comply, the sheriff can remove her. Meanwhile, you might want to consider changing the locks again, once you can legally re-enter. Amara let out a long breath. This is my home. The thought of a sister turning it into a battleground, her eyes watered momentarily, and she looked away. I just can't believe she'd go this far. Danielle offered a sympathetic smile. Family disputes can get ugly, especially when property is involved. But we have the advantage of straightforward, documented ownership on your side. Plus, you mentioned security footage? Amara opened her phone and played a snippet of Yvette taunting her from the doorbell cam. Danielle raised an eyebrow. That's quite brazen. Good. The more evidence, the better. Just then, Amara's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. It read, "We need to talk." I tried warning Yvette, but she wouldn't listen. Call me when you can. Mom. Amara clenched her jaw. She says she tried to warn Yvette. Warn her about what? Danielle closed the file. We can't be sure yet. One step at a time. Let's proceed with the legal route. Keep that phone handy, documentation is everything. Amara nodded, gathering her papers. A spark of resolve lit her eyes. Yvette might have a scribbled note, but Amara had the law, her lawyer, and a growing determination. One thing was sure, Yvette had just declared war, and Amara was more than ready to fight. That afternoon, Amara pulled into a nearby motel. The neon sign blinked overhead, advertising weekly rates. She planned to stay just a few nights at most, expecting the eviction process for Yvette to begin quickly. She reminded herself that as humiliating as it felt to be locked out, it was temporary. On the small motel desk, she spread out her laptop, notes, and all relevant legal documents. The hum of the air conditioner provided a steady backdrop to her concentration. She had an important video meeting the next day regarding a new architecture project. Life didn't stop just because personal chaos was swirling around her. Her phone pinged with a voicemail notification from her mother. Amara pressed play. Amara, sweetie, please listen. Your sister, she's been spiraling. She came to me a few weeks ago, talking about how she deserved part of your house. I told her it was nonsense, but she wouldn't listen. I never signed anything giving her your property. She must have forged my signature. I'm so sorry this is happening. Let me know if I can help. The sincerity in her mother's voice brought a wave of both relief and anger. Yvette had forged a letter using their mother's name, and that was how she planned to justify taking Amara's house. It was beyond audacious. Amara dialed her mother. This time, the older woman picked up instantly. Mom, Amara said, voice trembling with pent-up frustration. Yvette changed my locks. I know, her mother replied, sighing heavily. She's been telling the family that you agreed to sign over the house. Some relatives are under the impression you're relocating for a better job. Amara scoffed. Relocating? Mom, I have no idea where she's getting all this from. I tried to talk her out of it, her mother said softly. She's convinced she should have been the one to own a home first. Something about how you're the younger sister and she's the eldest, so she thinks she's entitled to more. That's ridiculous. Amara pinched the bridge of her nose. This has gone too far. Her mother's voice shook with regret. I know, dear. I'll do whatever I can to make this right. You have my full support. Amara ended the call, tears stinging her eyes. What hurt most was not the betrayal itself but the realization of how little Yvette valued their relationship. The house was more than walls and a roof, it was a symbol of independence, a sanctuary. And Yvette had shattered that sanctity. Closing her eyes, Amara promised herself not to react impulsively. She'd wait for Danielle's formal steps, gather more evidence, and strike back legally. Patience, she whispered. I have to keep my cool. The calm before the storm was often the hardest. But Amara was steel-willed. This time, she'd channel her anger into something constructive. Yvette might have the locks, but Amara had the blueprint for revenge, quiet, methodical, and entirely within the confines of the law. Bright and early the following day, Amara found herself in a small conference room at Danielle's office, handing over every last shred of documentation. Mortgage statements, property tax receipts, bank statements showing her down payment, it was a paper trail that left no room for doubt. Danielle flipped through each page with a diligent eye. I have more than enough here to prove ownership, she confirmed. And the police can be involved if Yvette refuses to leave once we serve notice. Amara fiddled with her pen, anxiety crackling in her veins. That's exactly what I want. No more drama, no more confusion, just a clear legal action. They drafted a formal notice of eviction that outlined that Yvette was trespassing on Amara's property. It included a demand to vacate within 72 hours or face immediate involvement from law enforcement. Once the final draft was printed, Danielle slid it across the table to Amara. There's no reason to wait, Danielle said with a small smile. You can deliver it or have it served by an independent process server. Might be better if you're not face-to-face. Amara nodded. Agreed. I'll hire someone. I don't want to give Yvette any chance to manipulate me in person. They stood, shaking hands. Amara felt an immense sense of relief. Finally, a tangible step toward regaining her home was in motion. She clutched the eviction notice against her chest, almost as if it were armor. She wasn't alone in this fight, the law was on her side. As she headed toward the exit, Danielle called after her, "Keep me posted. And remember, don't let her provoke you. No matter what she says." Amara turned, nodded in understanding, and left the office. Each stride felt more confident. By day's end, Yvette would have the official notice in her hands. And Amara would be one step closer to reclaiming what was rightfully hers. Driving away, she glanced at her phone. Her security app had 12 new notifications. The idea of Yvette making herself comfortable in her living room turned her stomach, but she reminded herself, this was a temporary situation. The final outcome was inevitable. All that mattered was staying the course. Amara decided to check the live feed from her cameras as she waited for the process server to do their job. Sitting in her car, parked discreetly down the block, she watched Yvette on her phone, pacing the living room. Boxes were stacked near the window. Had Yvette been planning to sell or rent the place? A memory surfaced. The day before her trip, she overheard Yvette on a phone call, mentioning something about a quick sale. Amara had dismissed it at the time, assuming Yvette was just fantasizing. But now, with Yvette pacing among half-unpacked boxes, it looked alarmingly real. She turned up the volume on the camera feed. Yvette's voice sounded agitated as she spoke to someone on speakerphone. "I don't care if the buyer is shady," Yvette hissed. "They have the cash, and I need it fast. Yes, I have the deed in my name. Don't question me." Amara's jaw dropped. Yvette was actively trying to sell the house to some unscrupulous buyer. Had Yvette forged the deed entirely? This was bigger than simple squatting. It was attempted fraud on a grand scale. Her phone chimed, a text from the process server, notice served. She didn't look happy. "Let me know if you need anything else." Amara watched the camera. Moments later, Yvette opened the front door, accepted an envelope, and slammed it shut. She began pacing even more furiously, the envelope clutched in her hand. "Looks like the jig is up," Amara muttered, a grim sense of satisfaction coiling in her chest. She only hoped the buyer Yvette had roped in would back off once they realized the house was never legitimately for sale. But if they were truly shady, there was no telling how they might react. Nonetheless, Amara had the footage. The cameras had recorded every conversation Yvette had in that living room. And with the eviction notice officially served, Yvette was running out of rope to cling to. Each second that passed, the noose of legal consequences tightened around her. Amara thought about stepping out of the car and confronting her sister, but she held back. The wise path was to let the legal process unfold. She started the engine and drove off, determined to keep a cool head. Yvette had set a trap for both Amara and a naive buyer, and now she was the one caught in it. Soon, the law would handle the rest. That evening, while scrolling through her phone, Amara's notifications exploded. The usually quiet family group chat was abuzz. Cousins, aunts, uncles, everyone was dropping messages filled with exclamation points and question marks. Her cousin Martin had posted, "Why is Yvette saying you gave her the house? She's bragging she's the new owner, but your name's on the records." A flurry of messages followed. "Aunt Felicia, Amara, call me. I'm confused about the drama. Yvette says you're giving her a hard time? Cousin Layla, girl, I saw your new place last month. No way Yvette's paying for that mortgage. Are you two fighting?" Amara groaned. She tapped on the microphone icon, deciding to drop a voice note. "Hey, everyone. Thanks for reaching out. Long story short, Yvette forged a document and changed my locks while I was away. I'm working with a lawyer to get her out. I never agreed to sign over my house. Please don't believe anything she's telling you." Almost immediately, Yvette's typing bubble appeared. "You're lying. Everyone knows you can't afford this place on your own. Mom said so." Amara's mother jumped in. "No, Yvette. I never said that. I never gave you or anyone else the right to take Amara's house. Stop twisting my words." Other family members chimed in, demanding an explanation from Yvette. The chat scrolled so fast it was almost unreadable. Threats of legal action, pleas for calm, and random gossip filled the feed. Yvette tried to respond individually, calling them traitors for not siding with her. But the wave of skepticism was too strong. Screenshots of property records and mortgage statements that Amara had once shared with Martin were posted. Slowly, Yvette's claims unraveled in front of the entire family. Amara took a trembling breath, relief mingling with heartbreak. This was not how she wanted her private business aired, but it felt validating to see her relatives defend her. She typed again. "I have proof Yvette changed my locks and tried to sell the house behind my back. The eviction notice has been served. Let's not harass each other, this is going to court." End of story. A stunned silence took hold of the chat. No one knew how to respond to such an ugly situation. Some offered prayers, others gave supportive thumbs up, while a few demanded Yvette apologize. Yvette went ominously quiet. Amara turned off her phone, pushing away the avalanche of messages. A swirl of conflicting emotions weighed on her, shame, sadness, anger, but also a flicker of vindication. Yvette's lies were exposed. The entire family saw her for what she was attempting to do. Though it hurt to watch the meltdown in real time, it was necessary. Now, there would be no going back to the pretense of sibling harmony. The group chat was nuclear, and in the fallout, Yvette stood alone. Amara prayed that at least some good would come from this, clarity, accountability, and, hopefully, an end to Yvette's twisted scheme. By midweek, the situation escalated. Amara's phone buzzed with a restricted number calling. Against her better judgment, she answered. A gruff voice introduced himself as someone interested in buying the house from Yvette. Instantly, Amara knew this had to be the shady buyer Yvette was talking about. She decided to tread carefully. "Ma'am, Yvette told me that the property was for sale," the man said, sounding both impatient and slightly intimidated. "She said you're her real estate agent or something?" Amara stifled a laugh. "I'm the legal owner. It's not for sale, especially not by my sister. She's committing fraud." A pause. "She said you wouldn't be an issue," he muttered, frustration creeping into his tone. "Look, I've already given her a deposit." "Are you saying it's all bogus?" "Yes," Amara replied evenly. "And I strongly suggest you talk to the authorities if she refuses to return your money. I have no part in her scheme." The man cursed under his breath. "I see. Thanks." The line went dead. Amara's thoughts raced. Yvette had likely taken this deposit and promised a quick sale, forging the deed to make it look legitimate. Now the buyer was left hanging, and Yvette would be in even deeper trouble if she couldn't produce the real house documents. Later that day, Amara got a call from Danielle. "I just spoke with a detective who received a complaint about Yvette. This alleged buyer claims Yvette tricked him into paying an upfront fee to secure the deal. Now he's threatening legal action or worse." A pang of worry hit Amara. "Worse, like physical retaliation?" Danielle sighed. "Hard to say, but it's definitely messy. The detective wants to speak to you about the real ownership situation. I let them know you'd be willing to cooperate." "Absolutely," Amara said, her chest tight with anxiety. "I'll do whatever it takes to clear my name in this mess." By nightfall, Yvette's plan was unraveling from every angle. The family had turned against her. The buyer realized he'd been scammed. The law was closing in. Her silence on social media was telling. She hadn't posted any triumphant claims since the eviction notice came. Amara imagined her sister pacing that stolen living room, phone glued to her ear, trying desperately to salvage a hopeless situation. Despite the chaos, Amara felt a strong sense of relief. Yvette's undoing wasn't just imminent, it was already happening. The illusions she had spun were collapsing like a poorly built house of cards. And Amara didn't even need to push. Yvette had sabotaged herself, step by reckless step. All it took was one post. A close friend of Amara, who had seen Yvette's drama unfold, decided to share the story anonymously on Reddit. The headline read, "My friend's sister locked her out of her own house and tried to sell it illegally." Within hours, it skyrocketed to the front page, garnering thousands of comments. The post included broad strokes of the situation, how Amara had purchased the home, invited her sister to stay temporarily, only to return and find the locks changed. A wave of internet outrage followed. People labeled Yvette a con artist, a delusional sibling, a cautionary tale. They offered advice, legal anecdotes, and even comedic takedowns of Yvette's character. When Amara found out, she was mortified. She'd never intended for her private life to become viral fodder. But ironically, the surge of public attention also brought unexpected benefits. Dozens of attorneys and real estate experts chimed in on the thread, validating Amara's approach and praising her for gathering solid evidence. One top comment read, "Kudos to the homeowner for staying calm and using the legal system. This sister is in for a rude awakening. Hope OP changes the locks once and for all." As the post went viral, curious onlookers found Yvette's social media profiles. Some posted scathing comments on her photos. Others claimed to know someone who'd been scammed by a similar scheme. Yvette's digital reputation took a nosedive in real time. Text messages from friends flooded Amara's phone. "Girl, you're trending on Reddit, it's insane, and OMG, I'm so sorry you have to go through this. We're here for you." Amara felt a swirl of embarrassment and gratitude. She'd never asked for this spotlight, but it seemed unstoppable. Public humiliation of Yvette was now complete, and in a twisted way, it served as a form of social justice. The entire internet stood behind Amara, urging her to stand strong. Meanwhile, Yvette's meltdown seemed inevitable. the once cocky older sister, who thrived on appearances, was now the subject of global ridicule. Amara couldn't bring herself to gloat, but she also couldn't deny a tiny spark of satisfaction. Actions have consequences, and Yvette was reaping every last one. On the day the sheriff arrived to enforce the eviction, Amara stood at a distance, her lawyer by her side. A patrol car pulled up to the curb, lights flashing discreetly. 2 deputies stepped out, professional but stern. Yvette peeked through the living room window. Amara saw her pale face vanish behind the blinds. Danielle whispered, "Just let them handle this. You've done all you need to do." Amara nodded, heart pounding. She watched as the deputies knocked on the front door, announcing their presence. Minutes ticked by with no answer. Finally, the door creaked open. Yvette stood there, arms crossed, defiance etched into her features. "Ma'am," the lead deputy said calmly, "we have a court order stating that you're trespassing on this property. You are required to vacate immediately." Amara inched closer, staying behind her lawyer but within earshot. She could hear the venom in Yvette's voice as she spat, "I am not trespassing. This is my house. Ask my mother," she signed the letter. The deputy's brow furrowed. "We have the official deed, and the rightful owner has been confirmed. Your letter is not recognized by the court. You need to gather your belongings and leave." Yvette's lip trembled. She turned abruptly, as if to slam the door, but the second deputy stepped forward, preventing her. "Do not obstruct law enforcement," he warned. A standoff ensued, the tension thick in the air. Yvette looked out, eyes locking on Amara. Fury, betrayal, and a hint of desperation warred on her face. "I can't believe you'd do this to your own sister," she hissed. Amara's throat constricted. She wanted to shout back, "You did this to yourself." Instead, she kept silent, letting the deputies perform their duties. 15 minutes later, Yvette was led to the curb, a single suitcase in hand. She glared at everyone, ignoring the questions from the deputies. Realizing her theatrics held no weight now, she finally snapped, "Fine. Keep this stupid house. See if I care." Without another word, she stormed away, leaving behind a swirl of confusion. A deputy handed the keys to Amara. Emotionally drained but victorious, she gripped them tightly, tears threatening to spill. For so long, this house had been her dream. Now she was free to reclaim it, scars and all. With Yvette gone, Amara stepped onto the porch she hadn't seen from the inside in weeks. The front door was wide open, courtesy of the deputies. She placed a trembling hand on the doorknob. The interior felt both familiar and foreign. The smell of cleaning chemicals mixed with stale air. Her sister's presence lingered in the scattered items left behind, half-eaten takeout containers, wrinkled papers, random bits of clothing. Amara's stomach churned at the sight. "Let's do a walkthrough," Danielle suggested gently, staying just behind Amara for support. They moved from room to room, inspecting any damage or tampering. In the living room, the once pristine sofa was stained. In the kitchen, plates and glasses lay around as if they'd been abandoned mid-meal. The second bedroom, where Yvette had been staying, was a disaster zone of unwashed clothes and empty snack bags. Amara clenched her jaw, anger mixing with exhaustion. "I can't believe she lived like this. She had no respect for my space." Danielle placed a hand on her shoulder. "We'll take pictures to document everything, in case you want to charge her for property damage." Amara snapped a few photos, each click of the camera feeling cathartic. The final room they checked was the master bedroom, her sanctuary. Relief flooded her when she found it mostly untouched, although Yvette had rummaged through the drawers. Documents were strewn about on the bed, likely in Yvette's attempt to forge or find more ways to legitimize her claim. Amara gathered the papers quietly. "This used to be my safe space," she murmured. "I just feel violated." "I understand," Danielle said softly. "But it's your space again. Take a deep breath and think of how you'll make it yours once more." Amara exhaled shakily. She gazed out the window at the setting sun, the light bathing the room in a soft glow. Despite the chaos, she felt something she hadn't in days: peace. This was her domain, legally and emotionally. No one could strip that away again. After the chaotic homecoming, Amara needed to process the emotional weight of her sister's betrayal. She decided to try something new: therapy. She found a local counselor named Dr. Meredith Holloway, known for her work with families in crisis. Sitting on a cushioned chair in Dr. Holloway's office, Amara felt uneasy but determined. "I don't want this to define me," she said, her voice trembling. "I feel like everything I believed about my sister and our family dynamic was a lie." Dr. Holloway nodded, an understanding smile on her face. "It's natural to feel that way when trust is broken so completely. Betrayal by a family member cuts deeply." Amara fiddled with the hem of her sweater. Growing up, Yvette was always the protective one. She'd walk me to school, shield me from bullies. Then something changed in high school. She became resentful whenever I achieved something, like my scholarship or my job at the architecture firm. "Sibling rivalries often have deep roots," Dr. Holloway gently remarked. "Sometimes envy festers if one sibling perceives the other as getting opportunities they didn't." Amara stared at her hands. "We were never rich. I worked hard to get scholarships, to land internships. Nothing came easy. But Yvette, she acted like I had it handed to me. And this perception may have fueled her envy," Dr. Holloway reasoned. "But understanding doesn't excuse her behavior. You're entitled to anger, sadness, and even the desire for distance." "That's exactly how I feel," Amara admitted. "Part of me wants to cut Yvette out of my life for good. Another part grieves for the sister I used to love. That conflict is normal. Healing takes time," Dr. Holloway reassured. "We'll work on healthy boundaries. It's possible to forgive without forgetting, and without allowing them to continue harming you." By the session's end, Amara felt lighter. She understood that therapy wouldn't magically erase the betrayal, but it gave her tools to cope. She realized that she had a right to protect her peace and to recognize that she was not to blame for Yvette's resentment. As she left the office, she felt a seed of resolve. Instead of letting this trauma overshadow her life, she would learn from it. She'd build stronger boundaries, pay attention to red flags, and prioritize her own well-being. After all, she reclaimed her home, now she needed to reclaim her emotional stability. A week after the eviction, Amara was in her newly cleaned living room, savoring a cup of chamomile tea. She'd spent days scrubbing every surface Yvette had touched, repainting small patches, and rearranging furniture to purge the negative energy. It felt therapeutic, as if each brushstroke reclaimed her space from Yvette's toxic presence. Her phone buzzed. A message from Yvette: "I want to talk. Please." Amara's heart fluttered with anger and an odd flicker of hope. Was this a genuine attempt at reconciliation or another manipulation? She set the phone aside, ignoring the text. But Yvette persisted. A barrage of messages followed. 1. "We're sisters, we shouldn't fight like this." 2. "I made mistakes, but so have you." 3. "Mom wants us to fix this." 4. "Answer me." For a moment, Amara's finger hovered over the screen, debating whether to respond. She heard Dr. Holloway's advice in her head: you can maintain boundaries. You don't owe anyone immediate forgiveness. She tapped a single reply: "I need time. I'm not ready to talk." Yvette's final response came minutes later: "Fine. Guess you enjoy being on your high horse. Don't bother calling me when you need something." Amara chuckled bitterly. The so-called apology had vanished as quickly as it arrived. Yvette wasn't truly sorry, she just hated the consequences of her actions. There was no accountability, just deflection and resentment. Rather than fall into an argument, Amara put her phone on silent. She wouldn't allow Yvette to manipulate her emotions again. The day might come when a real apology was offered, but this was not it. And Amara felt no guilt in protecting her newly reclaimed sanctuary from any more drama. For weeks, Amara had been confiding in her best friend, Jade, about the ordeal. Jade, a talented graphic designer, had offered unwavering support, from moral pep talks to physically helping Amara clean her trashed home. One evening, as they shared takeout in the living room, Jade looked around thoughtfully. "You have 3 bedrooms here. Ever consider a roommate?" Amara raised an eyebrow. "Not after this fiasco. The idea of sharing my space again terrifies me." Jade smiled gently. "I get it. But I'm not Yvette. I can pay rent. Plus, we've known each other since college. You won't find a more respectful roommate." A spark of interest lit in Amara's eyes. It was true, Jade had proven herself time and again. On top of that, Jade had been quietly flirting with Amara in recent months. A subtle shift in their friendship hinted at deeper feelings. Could living together be the next logical step? "Are you sure you want to live so close to the aftermath of this drama?" Amara teased, half serious. Jade shrugged. "I'd rather be near you. Besides, maybe it'll help you feel safer to have someone around. That's what friends are for, right?" Amara's cheeks warmed. "You have a point," she said, smiling softly. "Let's try it. We'll draw up an actual lease so we both feel secure. I'm done with unspoken, casual arrangements." Jade's eyes lit up. They clinked their takeout containers, sharing a silent understanding. The idea of a new roommate, especially one she trusted, brought a sense of relief. It was a chance to replace Yvette's toxic residue with the warmth of genuine companionship. And maybe, just maybe, this arrangement would spark something more than friendship. 2 days after Jade moved in, Amara's mother dropped by unannounced. She looked frazzled, her usually neat hair disheveled. Over a cup of coffee in the kitchen, her mother confessed something that left Amara speechless. "I knew Yvette was planning something," she admitted, staring into her mug. "I didn't realize how far she would go, but I had suspicions. I tried talking her out of it, and she promised she'd never do anything drastic. But I knew she was bitter over your success." Amara felt a flash of anger. "Mom, why didn't you warn me more explicitly?" Her mother sighed. "I tried to hint that she was unstable. I told you to watch your locks, remember? But I never believed she'd forge a letter or actually change the locks. I just thought she'd guilt trip you or something smaller. I was wrong, and I'm so sorry." Tears prickled at Amara's eyes. "I appreciate your apology, but I can't help feeling betrayed by everyone in this family. I was left to deal with her treachery alone." Her mother's voice trembled. "I've already told Yvette she's not welcome at my house until she makes things right. She's staying with a friend, apparently, but that's all I know." Silence settled in the kitchen, broken only by the hum of the refrigerator. Jade entered quietly, sensing the tension. She gave Amara a questioning look, and Amara shook her head, signaling everything was under control. Amara's mother patted her hand. "I hope one day you two can reconcile. But I understand if that takes a long time, or if it never happens at all." "Thanks, Mom," Amara said softly. "But don't pressure me. I need to heal in my own time." With that, her mother stood, gathering her purse. Their eyes met, both filled with regret and a mutual longing for simpler times. But those times were gone, replaced by a new reality where caution was paramount and trust had to be earned, not assumed. Late one night, Jade was scrolling through social media when she stumbled upon Yvette's newest post, an emotional apology video. Jade hesitated, then showed it to Amara. In the video, Yvette was crying, makeup streaming down her face. She apologized for any hurt she caused. But something about the wording felt off. She never specifically admitted guilt or mentioned forging documents, she framed it as a misunderstanding. Comments were a mix of supporters telling her to hold her head up, and skeptics pointing out her lies. Amara set down the phone. She's never going to truly own what she did. This is just a ploy for sympathy. Jade put an arm around her. The internet is already dragging her. She might be hoping to salvage her reputation. Amara nodded. She can post 1,000 crying videos, but until she genuinely admits what she did, it means nothing to me. They watched as more comments appeared under the video. Some users pointed out that Yvette had scammed a potential buyer. Others asked if she'd paid back the deposit. Yvette responded with vague excuses, claiming she was working on it. Clearly, no one believed her. You can't fake an apology forever, Amara murmured. Sooner or later, the truth catches up. Jade squeezed her shoulder. Exactly. Don't let it bother you. Focus on your life, your house, your well-being. Amara took a deep breath, thankful for Jade's unwavering support. Yvette's tears might sway a few strangers on social media, but redemption was not guaranteed. Actions had consequences, and Yvette had yet to face them in full. If the universe was fair, that day would arrive soon enough. In the weeks that followed, the Reddit post and related stories still circulated online. Curious netizens sent Amara messages of support, and some asked for advice. This gave her an unexpected idea. Perhaps she could channel her ordeal into something positive. She was, after all, an architect who understood contracts, property laws, and the importance of thorough documentation. She decided to start a YouTube channel titled Home Empowerment with Amara. On her first video, filmed in her newly refurbished living room, she introduced herself. Hey everyone, I'm Amara. I went viral recently for a nightmare situation where my sister locked me out of my own home. But I'm more than a victim, I'm an architect who wants to help others avoid the same pitfalls. She outlined basic legal documents homeowners should keep on file, the importance of camera security, and how to find a reputable lawyer. Her calm, approachable manner resonated with viewers, and the comments section flooded with gratitude and questions. In her second video, she detailed how to evict illegal occupants properly, sharing her journey from the initial lawyer's visit to the final involvement of the sheriff. Views skyrocketed. She was no longer just the sister who got locked out. She became a resource for people dealing with shady landlords, squatters, or family disputes over property. Emails poured in, people sharing their own horror stories. Some faced manipulative siblings, others unscrupulous landlords. Amara spent hours responding, directing them to legal resources, or simply offering words of solidarity. For the first time since the ordeal began, Amara felt a sense of purpose blossoming from the wreckage. She wasn't just regaining control of her life, she was transforming her pain into a platform for empowerment. She had found her voice, and the internet was listening. Buoyed by her channel's success and her architectural background, Amara decided to take her advocacy a step further. She reached out to local nonprofits, proposing a housing co-op initiative aimed at helping women escape toxic or unstable living conditions, whether it be from manipulative family members, abusive partners, or financial hardships. She named the initiative the Sisterhood Co-op. It would offer workshops on financial literacy, legal rights, and even basic home renovation skills. A few sponsors and charitable organizations expressed interest, recognizing the need for a safe haven where women could learn and grow without fear of eviction or exploitation. Jade, ever supportive, used her graphic design prowess to create a striking logo and a social media campaign. Within a month, the Sisterhood Co-op had its first dozen participants, women from various walks of life who had lived through housing nightmares of their own. They met weekly in a rented community space, sharing stories, resources, and solutions. One evening, a woman named Kiara tearfully thanked Amara. I've never known another woman who understood what it's like to be betrayed by family over housing. Thank you for creating this place. Amara smiled through misty eyes. We stand together. No one should go through that trauma alone. News outlets caught wind of the initiative's success. Local stations interviewed Amara, labeling her a community champion. She stood tall, though modest, acknowledging the role her supporters and volunteers played. The overshadowing gloom of Yvette's betrayal seemed distant compared to the bright future she was helping build for others. By standing up and fighting for her home, Amara had inadvertently ignited a larger movement. The sisterhood co-op was a testament that tragedy could be transformed into triumph, that betrayal could pave the path for collective resilience. And her story wasn't over yet. On a sunny Saturday morning, Amara stepped onto her front porch, coffee cup in hand. Jade was inside, finalizing some designs for the sisterhood co-op's upcoming workshop. A gentle breeze carried the scent of freshly cut grass. This was a far cry from the night she found herself locked out. She recalled that first moment of horror and disbelief. Now, everything felt different, lighter, safer, genuinely hers. The house that had been the stage for deception was now a beacon of hope. The paint was fresh, the rooms were filled with love and supportive energy, and her name was firmly on the deed, no further questions asked. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I'm truly sorry. If you ever find it in your heart, please forgive me." She didn't need a signature to guess it was Yvette. A pang of old hurt flared in her chest, but she quickly exhaled it away. She took a moment, letting the sun warm her skin. She typed a short reply, "I wish you healing. But for now, I need my space." No more, no less. She wasn't ready for sisterly reunions, but she also didn't wish ill on Yvette. Setting healthy boundaries was part of her journey. With a confident stride, she turned the doorknob and re-entered her home, her sanctuary. Jade looked up and smiled. The living room was alive with possibility, brimming with design sketches and flyers for the next co-op event. Amara felt her heart swell with gratitude and pride. Not too long ago, she was locked out and powerless. Now, she stood in her foyer, the rightful owner of her house, and the architect of her own destiny. No one could steal that from her again. Her house. Her rules. Her peace, and that was the final, triumphant word. The end.